Would you like to live your best life possible, regardless of your imperfections? Discover cutting-edge tools and inspiration to let go of your limitations and expand your life beyond what you've ever imagined. On Imperfect, Brilliance, we help you tap into your unique gifts and talents, uncovering and letting your brilliance shine. Join certified facilitator and coach Betsy McLoughlin as she delves into different areas of your life to get unstuck and create the life that is truly possible for you. Betsy has changed her life by utilizing the tools and techniques she is sharing with you. What if your willingness to acknowledge your brilliance is the catalyst to creating a new reality? When you stop judging you, what else can you create in your life and in the world? Join Betsy live every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern to create magical and joyous possibilities for an hour of laughs, questions, tips, and more. We are excited to contribute and play with you.
Hello. I have a question for you guys. Would you like to talk about the magic of having money? Yay! I would. So hopefully you will as well, and that is what we're talking about today. And we're going to be talking about it kind of from a different angle. Having money in your life that we receive from its very existence. And thinking about money that has nowhere to go. It doesn't have, like a lot, for a lot of us, we have money that comes in and it goes right back out, to bills, to groceries, to whatever. And what if we had money that we didn't have to assign to anything? It had nowhere to go. What if we could have money that had just the presence of the magical contribution? Without thoughts, without lies, and we allowed money and riches to fill our life. And what if the magic of having money is just a choice away? Oh, yes, please. That is what we're going to be talking about today on this very magical conversation with my guest, Cassy Summers. Welcome, Cassy. Welcome back.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Cassy has been a guest a couple of times on the show, and we always have so much fun together. So I'm really excited about this conversation about the magic of having money and what that looks like and what we can do to actually create that for our lives. And a little bit of information about Cassy. She currently lives in Canada, and she is an Access Consciousness certified facilitator who loves contributing to people. And, people who are looking to have the freedom of a greater, happier life, more conscious living. And she has spent the last 7 years in this pursuit with tools and techniques that actualize living, not just for herself, but for everyone that she's lucky enough to work with. And she's also a mama of 2 boys and 2 very active, playful boys. So welcome, Miss Cassy. And is there anything that you would like to add to my introduction of you?
Thank you, Betsy. No, you did a great job. I'm just happy to be here and having some fun conversations with you again. It's always so wonderful.
Thank you. So tell us where this idea of having more conversation around the magic of money, where did that start for you?
That's a great question. I play a lot with the tools of Access Consciousness, and as do you. And so one of the tools is they talk about having, a 10% account. and you take 10% of everything you make and you put it into, a bank account. You could use it as cash or whatever, and you never spend it. And I remember the first time hearing this, it was a bizarre concept to me. I was like, but what's the purpose of it? Like, if you're not going to spend it, like you're working hard for your money, and then you just have it, and you're never going to use it. And it took me a while so I did it, eventually I started to create a 10% account, and I started to have that money. And then I started to, like those times where you feel really financially stressed, I would pull it out. I would count the cash. I'd like, okay, I feel better. But what I started to notice, Betsy and everyone listening, is that not only did it create kind of an energy of money in my life, but what I started to become aware of was that that energy of the money in my life was expanding money possibilities. So it actually started to like magnetically attract more money in, which is kind of magic. And my own space of being started to expand just by having money in my life.
So what do you mean by your space of being expanding?
Okay, yeah, great question. So I don't know about you, but I've had times in my life where I walk around and my whole day I'm like kind of as if all of me is stuffed into a tight jar. Mm-hmm. Like I'm contracted. I have a lot of thoughts about my concerns going on, and I'm not super present. Even in conversations, I'm a little bit kind of still thinking about the things that are going on in my life that I need to fix. So it's a very like small space. So living from this small space where you feel tight, not relaxed, there's constant thoughts, feelings, and emotions kind of going on in the background. Mm-hmm. And so that expanding your space of being is kind of if you flip that 180 degrees. So where I start to have, the space is actually having less thoughts, less feelings, less emotions, having this like infinite energy flowing out in every direction, and having more and more and more of that space, and having less thoughts, feelings, and emotions doesn't mean that I'm actually more present and having more fun and being in more of the joy of what's going on, rather than the contraction of the thoughts, the feelings, and the emotions, and the stresses and concerns financially that are going on in my world. Does that make sense?
Yes, it sure does. Thank you. So please continue.
Yeah. So I started to really look, especially lately. I know some of the listeners may have had difficulties going on with the COVID financial situation. Some people are thriving and having, a lot of ease with money, and other people are having a lot of difficulty. They're having stress. They're having a lot of concerns coming up. And as I have been, on my own journey through this, I have been aware that having of money has been a huge, contribution to my well-being. So the peace that I have every day. And also there's the non-cognitive contribution. So that would be so when someone gives you a really big hug, you just need a hug, and you're like, oh, I just feel better.
Yeah.
Yeah. For no reason that you can really figure out.
Yes.
I started to notice that if I allowed it, that the money in my life, no matter how little or how big, could also be that kind of energy, that hug, that contribution, that kindness and nurturance in my life.
I love that analogy. And so if that is something that people are looking at that and going, oh, that's kind of cool, but I have no freaking idea how to do that. What are some of the things that you could suggest to them for that?
Yeah. Okay. So one thing, and this is kind of fun. So one like exercise you could do is to actually raid your house. So pull out like every, like maybe you have like a gaudy gold ring that you were gifted from some grandparent that you would never wear, but it's like, 24 karat gold, right? Or it's got like some gems or some jewels. Maybe you have clothing that has like that, like higher end clothing, anything of intrinsic value. Maybe you have some antiques in your home, so actually like pull those together. And if you're willing, like put them in a pile, like as if you were a dragon and you were going to hoard all your stuff together. Okay. and now sit with it and just kind of relax your body and start to notice if you like what's different for you just by being near those items. Like what starts to occur for your body? Do you start to like you can't sit still because you have all this energy buzzing through it? Or maybe you actually like relax more than you have in months. Or maybe you start to expand out. And that's like a start. And you may not know what you're doing, but you're actually having an energetic conversation with these things, these money things.
Mm-hmm. So do you have to actually talk to them?
You don't have to, but I like to. So, for instance, I have this piece of jewelry that I purchased from the Guild. It's an antique gold ring. It has Australian opals in it, and it is absolutely gorgeous. And I wear it almost every day. And I will admire it, which is part of speaking to something energetically, even admiring gold and admiring luxury. But I'll actually say sometimes in my head, I'm like, I'm so grateful you're in my life. And I just share that gratitude, like as though you're talking to like a pet or, someone like close to you. I sometimes ask my money, would you be willing to make me more money? Would you be willing to attract more money to me?
Awesome. I love that question. So when you ask that question, would you be willing to, contribute to me having more money show up, or, however it is that you might word it, what do you do after that?
So I kind of be with it for a moment. And expecting not my ring to grow lips and talk to me. but I be with that for a moment, and then I just do something that like is very uncommon in this reality, and I receive. So that could look like, so being willing to receive from my ring, for example, and not only receive from my ring now, but receive from the money that my ring is pulling to me, because money is an energy as well as it is, paper bills or numbers that show up in our bank account. So when you're willing, so money is also an energy as it is of paper bills or dollars in your bank account. Money actually has an energy, and that's part of you starting to notice these things in your life that have intrinsic value. You'll start to tap into that different energy, and you can even do a comparison. So if you take a ring that has, or a piece of jewelry, any piece of jewelry that has intrinsic value, that's made of like gold or silver, and then take something that's like from a that you would get at like maybe a kid's jewelry store, like that kind of metal, and hold one in each hand. You'll notice, you will notice a difference in vibration, a difference in energy. And so that energy is something of the money energy that you want to be engaging with and talking to often and inviting into your life more and more.
So what happens when you invite money into your life?
Well, wonderful, delicious things, I think. For me, yeah. So for me, sometimes I'll notice things showing up unexpected, like a friend suddenly wants to take me out for dinner, and maybe they've never done that before. So receiving money even in that way. So sometimes I just had a friend bring over like bags full of like designer, beautiful clothing that she was just raiding her closet with. Sometimes it's money on the ground. Sometimes you have more clients show up, or you get a raise at from your employer. So when you invite more money in, it can show up in so many different ways. And if you're open to it showing up in any way, then you'll probably perceive and receive so much more than if you've decided it has to be in a certain way at a certain time.
Mm. So what I'm hearing you say is if you let go of the way you think it's going to show up, and you actually acknowledge when it does show up, like your friend bringing you clothes, finding money on the ground, whatever, that all contributes to what you've been talking about so far and invites more to the party of your life.
Yeah. Yep. And really being willing to, like, what if you allowed anything and everything to contribute to you? Even the things, like even the magical things that maybe we have decided are fairy tales or aren't real and true. Like, what if even the unseen things can contribute to? I actually have a story. This is maybe only for the believers or the seekers. But I was recently facilitating a class, and I had this sense of like these magical kind of beings that wanted to contribute. So I asked them, okay, what would you like to contribute? I'm happy to receive. And so then we were moving the furniture around our venue. And you know how you can roll coins?
Yes.
Yeah. So randomly underneath this chair, there was all these rolled coins. Yeah, and it wasn't like a huge amount of money, but it was so the energy of receiving contribution from even the unseen beings of the world. And then and it was really amazing too, because as I touched and I handled the coins, I noticed a difference in energy than just like an everyday, like the same coin and the same currency. And just acknowledging that and being like, wow, I'm so grateful and totally willing to receive more. That's part of that magic of money.
Mm. You know, I remember my son, he came in the store, we used to have a store, and he came in one day. Somebody had asked him to buy him an ice cream, like buy her an ice cream cone and I'll buy you one too. And he came in and he only had one ice cream cone. And we're like, honey, and of course he was eating it. Like, honey, where's, Mrs. Smith's ice cream cone? He goes, oh, I dropped it out in the parking lot.
Oh, no.
It's like, okay, well, we need to go get Mrs. Smith another ice cream cone. And, so he's like, and where's her change? He says, oh, it was just a few pennies, so I threw it on the ground. Okay, honey, all right, we need to have a conversation, and it was that. So I wonder, like, for all of us, how many times have we done that? Oh, it's just a few pennies. It doesn't matter. It's inconsequential. Instead of really embracing every single penny we ever find. Cue the first commercial, guys. We'll be back in just a couple minutes for more conversation with Cassy Summers today. Stay tuned.
Free your mind with OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
OMTimes magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. Connect at OMTimes.com. OMTimes, creating a more conscious lifestyle.
My name is Victor Furman. Some call me The Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio, and we'll explore these topics and so much more on Destination Unlimited.
A social distancing tip.
Putting distance between yourself and others is critical to slowing the spread of coronavirus. So here are ways to stay in contact without the physical contact part. Call, send a text, set up a video conference, post on social media, dedicate a song on the radio. If you have symptoms of fever, dry cough, and shortness of breath, call your healthcare provider before going to their office. For more info, visit coronavirus.gov.
Let's all do our part, because we're all #alone together. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Imperfect Brilliance. We're right, but as we were going to break, I was telling a story about when my son was little and just being so dismissive of money. And I wonder for all of us how many times we have been dismissive of, it's just a few pennies or whatever. And so, Cassy, what would you like to say about that?
Yeah, I love that, Betsy, like really acknowledging every coin, every gift, everything as a contribution to your life, which just invites more, because if you think of money as a lover, right, and they're constantly maybe doing nice, kind things to you or playful things, and you negate the ones that you haven't decided are big enough, then eventually they're going to stop coming. They're going to stop gifting you those little sweet things. And the more you acknowledge it, the more you invite it. Yeah.
That is so, so true. Thank you for bringing that piece into it. And we do have a caller on the line who has a question. So let's go ahead and welcome Julie to the show. Welcome, Julie.
Welcome, Thank you, Julie. Betsy. Thank you, Betsy and Cassy, two of my favorite people in the world. Thank you for taking my call. I am wondering if you can talk about when Cassy, you were talking about the energy of money. It occurred to me that, and in doing a lot of seeking and studying about topics like money and wealth and abundance, that I actually still have some definitions of what those things are. And I'm wondering if you can talk about what's different about the energy of money versus the energy of wealth or the energy of abundance.
That is a wonderful question. Go for it, Cassy.
I love it. Yeah. So one thing I'll speak to it, but one thing I always recommend people to do is to get a sense of what they know about it. And so if you even say the word money, to get a sense of like, what are you aware of with that vibration, that energy? So wealth. Different, huh? And abundance. Cool. So I actually find I think energy of words is really fun for me. So I'll often play with that, and I'll even look at definitions of words, and I'll so abundance is a very large quantity of something. I just looked it up as Julie was asking. And I'll look, okay, so that's how it's defined right now in the current dictionary. A very large quantity of something is abundance. Okay, and then what else do I know about it? What else do you know about it? What is that energy? For me, it has that it keeps expanding, like an exponentialization. When I tap into money, so money is I mean, it's the tangible thing that we use to exchange it as a currency, right? But I can also get a sense of that energy of money is in things that aren't paper bills. So if you say you have the 10% account that we talked at the beginning, so you could take that stack of money and get a sense of, okay, this is money. This is what is defined as money. This is what money is. So you get a sense of that vibration. You play with it, you talk to it, you engage with it. You pull it. In Canada, our money's really colorful, so I spread it out, and it's so beautiful. and our $100 bills, the maple leaves smell like syrup. I'm just saying, it's pretty amazing.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So like really getting, okay, and like playing with that. And as you engage with it, you get the sense of, okay, this is the energy of money. So then I walked into like homes that are valued from this reality of like, really high end. But it will be interesting because I'll look around and I'm like, I don't actually sense an energy of money here. And then I've walked through that home with someone that does like house finishing, and they've been like, oh yeah, I can tell. Here they cut corners. Here they use like cheaper materials here. And you can see the simplicity. And I was like, oh, that's what I was aware of. That this house, it might be priced at as like this is a high value of money, but the energy wasn't there because it actually didn't have that energy of money. So now the energy of wealth. Okay, so wealth for me is actually read a beautiful definition in a book called The Penny Capitalist, and he described you're wealthy when your living needs are met without you having to use your monthly income. So what you would make based on your job or your business. Wealth is when you have your basic needs are met, and it could be from investments, it could be from rental property, it could be from something else. So that was an interesting definition that I had read.
Can you say it again?
Yeah.
Say it again, please. Yep.
So you're wealthy when your basic needs are met. So that's, your rent, your basic clothing, food, utilities, bills. When you can meet those financial needs without using your monthly income.
Okay.
So, and when I mean monthly income, you're direct, like this is my job. So it would come from something like, and so when I started to like look at that definition, tap into what was I aware of with wealth and with this definition, but not only with this definition, other definitions I've read, I started to get a sense, for me, wealth is when you're out of need. Like when you have wealth, you are in a place of, you could say, abundance, where you don't have a need anymore. And money would be that, money would be kind of an energy. Yeah, so if you tapped into the energy of money, so I'm going kind of around all three of them here for you guys, but if you tapped into the energy of money, it has a different, to me, sense than that wealth. The wealth is where you have no need of money, but you have money. And money, you can need it or want it or have it. And abundance is having a large quantity of money.
Wow. So, Julie, does that help? Do you have more questions?
Yeah, it actually does help, and it does prompt more questions. So,
go for it.
Is it? So you talked a little bit about acknowledging it. Is that the way to create more of that? It seems like this whole trifecta of, 3 points of energies kind of coming together, because it feels very homey. When you were talking about the house, it felt like very like a homey feeling, like very with heart. I don't know how to say it. Maybe a home with a hearth, a place where there's no need, that there's confidence, and is acknowledgement the way to get to that harmony of all three?
Well, I get that's one piece is acknowledgement, but also is a willingness to have.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So so we take, and wealth could be wealth financially, but it's also, you can have wealth in kind, caring people in your life, or a wealth of nature around you all the time, right? So that energy of wealth, of having no need of it, of having just access to so much of it. Right. And so if you look at that you have to be willing to have it, though. And what a lot of us don't realize, we all think that of course I'd be willing to have money, of course. But how often when people have, like, say they've won a little bit of money, or say they inherited money or something, how quickly do we spend it to get rid of it? And we have all the reasons and justifications of why we needed to spend it. But if you look at it, wealth, you have to be willing to have more than you need.
Wow, and that in receiving that too, I was just, aware of times where people would want to gift me, and I'd be resistant of that. Like, no, I can do it myself, or that's charity, and I don't do charity, or something like that, right? How many times have I disregarded the gift, because it does come around in different ways, like you were describing, through different avenues, and it shows up in similar yet very different energies if we are willing to have it.
Yeah.
So, wow. So how then, okay, so now how do I get better at receiving more of that? Yes, please, and thank you in advance for talking about this.
I love that. Yeah, so receiving is actually, for me, and Betsy, I don't know if you have more on this for you for receiving, but for me, receiving was actually a muscle I had to build. As a kid, I came in and I was willing to receive everyone and everything. I would be delighted to receive gifts and hugs and money and whatever. And along the way, because receiving isn't something that is often encouraged, or we see grown-ups doing, and as a kid we're learning how to be an adult, right? That's the purpose. I started to cut down my receiving, and then I experienced some abusive relationships, and then my receiving cut down more. So now it's like I'm actually building a muscle of receiving as I go along. One of the ways I do that is with using the access bars. That's a body process. Betsy, is your audience familiar with?
They should be, but please go ahead and explain it.
I thought so. Yep. Yeah, so it's like a technique. So essentially, this is what it was for me. So you want me to lie on a table, and then you're going to touch my head, and I'm going to feel better, and I don't have to do anything back. That was really hard for me. And I actually, when I first started, receiving bars longer than 30 minutes would drive me crazy. My legs would dance. I would be uncomfortable. I would suddenly have to go to the bathroom like a million times. And I realized after that was me, like I had reached my cap of receiving. Yeah, so I highly recommend all of you to find someone that, if you haven't already, that does the access bars, have that done. But you can also just ask every day, like, what would it take for my receiving to increase? And get a sense of those things that you could practice receiving with. So it could be, okay, someone's giving me a gift, lower my barriers, I relax, and then I just ask, what would it take to receive this? Without trying to find an answer or something that I have to do, because receiving isn't a doing.
Right. You just hit the nail on the head for so many of us. Receiving is not a doing. We're so used to doing. And then as Julie was, talking about, she, and I've done it many times myself. Oh, no, that's okay. And like brushed aside when people are desiring to contribute, or gift you things, and you're like, no, I can do it myself. And so that is that, and that goes for me a lot with the doing piece of, well, I can do it myself. And in the doing, are you receiving it all?
Exactly. Beautifully said.
Wow. So what other, does that bring up more questions? I know, right? It's like, okay.
I'm actually thinking I need my bars run.
It is a wonderful body process, and it's so relaxing. And for many of us, it is the first time that we really, truly learn to just lower our barriers and receive. And you don't have to do anything. And we're so used to, well, if you do this, then I got to do this, like the give and take and trying to even out the playing field and all those things. And this truly is a time for you. It's like if you treat yourself to a massage, it's the same thing. Like you're just there to receive and relax and enjoy the experience. And so there's just something so magical when you allow yourself to start receiving. And then, Cassy, would you like to tie that all together for us as we go to the next break of how receiving plays such a part with the playing with money and wealth and abundance?
Yeah. So, thank you. So to have something, you have to have received it, right? So otherwise you can't actually have it. And it's actually funny. So talking about give and take. So I've been gifted things, like it came from, I'm going to give you this. And I've taken it and not received it because that was the polite thing to do. So I've taken that thing and it's been in my life. It could be a piece of jewelry or whatever. And it's been in my life. It's been in my home. And sometimes I end up just gifting it to someone else. And then sometimes I look at it and I'm like, whoa, is there something I haven't received here? And so then once I receive from it, then the magic of having it, it becomes that generative energy of money in my life. But if I'm not receiving it, then I'm not actually having it. It's just something taking up space that I took.
Wow.
Oh man. I really need my bars run now.
Yeah, so how many of us take something to be polite or to not hurt someone's feelings, but we're not actually receiving it? And if you receive something, say maybe you got maybe it was a piece of jewelry and it's not your style, it's not something you'd wear. You can still receive it, so that allows the energy of it to contribute to your life. And then as you pass it on, you would actually receive even more from it as you pass it on.
Wow. That is beautiful. Yeah. Well, I'm looking at places I've done that in my own life. Thank you very much for that analogy, Cassy. Julie, you're welcome to stay with us as we go to break, and we'll be back in literally not very long. So stay tuned for more conversation around the magic of money.
Connecting you with the best of the conscious minds in the world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Hello, I'm Sandy Sedgbeer, host of OMTimes Magazine's flagship radio show, What is Going On. My passion is sifting through information, research, and innovations from new thought teachers, speakers, and researchers pushing back the boundaries of what we know about life, energy, metaphysics, and the universe. I love shifting perceptions about who we are, why we're here, and how quickly impossible becomes normal when we open our minds, expand our awareness, and accept that the only limits that exist are those we place upon ourselves. So if you're the kind of forward-thinking, eager investigator of what lies beyond the current reality that most perceive, why not make a date to come play with me in the field of possibilities at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time every Thursday, and together we can discover what's really going on.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone? Taking pictures?
No, I'm asking it questions.
Like what?
Hey, Bobo, do flowers have best friends?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, follow me. I want to show you something. Look, flowers do have best friends.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
You all are listening to Imperfect Brilliance with my guest, Cassy Summers, today. Cassy, I'm loving this conversation about money and magic and abundance and receiving and how it all weaves together to make this beautiful, beautiful possibility and opportunities, and differences and ways we can think and be, and we don't have to do everything for the magic of money. And I know that you have something coming up that we wanted to be sure to invite people to. So would you take a moment and tell people what that is?
Yeah, thank you, Betsy. So I have an online kind of monthly group and program, I guess you could say, that people can join, and it's called Dragon's Gold. And part of that came up with this whole, I was looking at magical creatures, and you always see the paintings or the illustrations where a dragon's sitting on a pile of gold, And I was like, that dragon really is okay with having money. Like, they don't feel guilty for having too much ever. And they're actually often looking at, like, where else could I get money? How much more money can I have? And there's a receiving of just like what would a dragon use that money for, that gold for? They're not going out to buy luxury homes. They're not, paying the bills. It's having the energy of money and gold and wealth in its life is a huge contribution. And when I really started to play with that energy, I was like, okay, I have to do something. I want to play with people, and I want to play with this possibility of what it's like to just have money, have gold, have riches, have wealth in your life, and see what does that create for your body? What does that create for your tomorrow, your future? So it's a month-long membership. We're going to have a call on Zoom, and we do some clearings, and we talk about the stuff coming up for people. And then we're going to do 7 days of energy pull. So that's where I kind of show you we talked about, talking to money, pulling money into your life, playing with money in different energetic ways. So we'll be doing that for 7 days.
And when does this start?
September.
All righty. And how can people find out more about it?
So they can go to asifbymagic.space. So they'll find it there, or if they look on As If by Magic on Facebook, there's a Facebook page, and we have all kinds of postings and events up there about it as well.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for that. And so is that your website as well, asifbymagic.space?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Great. And it's Cassy Summers, Cassy Summers. If you guys are looking for more information, you can check her out there. And if you're looking for my website, it is, and you're so welcome, it is creatingyumminess.com. And Cassy and I are both. You can find us on Facebook. And I am just having such a great time with this conversation today. Julie, did you have any more questions or thoughts that you would like to share with us?
Well, actually, when you were talking about the magic aspect of it, I wanted to hear more about that, because it sounds quite simple. I just realized I've been making this really hard, like earning money and making money and doing money. And then you said magic, and I was like, magic? It can be magical, and it had the sound of very simple. So can you talk more about being magic with money, or to be money, or the magic of it?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, so we see those people that they work hard for their money. We've seen that, and most of us have probably been told that that's the way to do it, right? And then you see these anomalies and these people that don't work hard at all, and they have money.
Yeah.
Right?
And you wonder, what in the world are they doing? How are they doing that?
Yeah, how are they doing that? What's the formula to doing? And no matter what you do, no matter what you do, you can never do it right for some reason. And you never, and that's been my experience anyways. The more I try to do money right, and the more I try and do like the formula of having all the riches, it seems to fall flat. And when I started to realize was that this reality's formula for generating and creating money was never going to work for me. And at first I would separate, like I would go into like, they're doing it right, I'm doing it wrong. And then I would go into resisting, like, well, you know what, it's because their parents helped them out. Or it's because whatever, like I'd have some justification of why they're doing it and I can't have it. And when I was able to break that down and I realized, wow, I'm just different. So I have if I would like to have wealth, riches, abundance, money, my dragon pile of gold, I'm going to have to discover what's true for me. And in that discovery, one thing that I've come across is that there's a being with money that you can be that invites more money as if by magic. And that's the magic piece, is that, magic, it isn't hard work. It isn't a lot of doing. It's a beingness. It's asking for it, acknowledging it when it shows up, receiving it, and being willing to have it.
Yeah, and I noticed how much fun you're having with that. I was like, I always see you having fun, and I'm like, wow, could I just have more fun and not be so stinking serious?
Yes, because because the money that I like, so I look at like money that's drawn to me is money that likes fun. It's not serious. I don't have no serious money in my life. I don't know about you guys, but I don't. So the more I have like lack of significance, playfulness, the joy, that's my place of receiving, is when I'm really joyful. I have my barriers down, when you're just in that joy of it and you're just receiving everything coming to you. That's how I draw in money.
Wow.
So you're not doing anything at that point, are you?
No, but what's different is that when you're being something, it doesn't mean that there's no action involved or no choice involved, which is different than doing, right? So you probably all had this experience where you've had a work day where you got a lot done. You probably worked really hard, right? Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, you're like, whoa, I accomplished a lot. And there was like, I did so much. And sometimes it's almost like from like, I did too much, or look at what I did. It's even approving of how much I did today, right? Now I finally earned that, glass of wine at the end of the day, or whatever it is for you. Then you've had those days where you've just been having way too much fun. Maybe you're like chatting with coworkers. You've been like, secretly on Facebook a little bit or whatever. And you're like designing your home, but all of this stuff is actually still getting actualized and instituted, and you're still, and so you're kind of creating an energy at work. And if you actually look at those days over a span of like a week, The days that more got created are the days where you were not coming from the doing place. Things were getting actualized or instituted from a joy place. But at the end of the day, you don't feel like you worked at all. So then what we tell ourselves is, oh my God, I didn't work at all today. And we make up a story about how we weren't as valuable the day that we were just being, that the value is in the doing. And then we'll only see that. And then we uninvite money. And we uninvite that space of being. So when you're being money, when you're being that energy, when you're being the energies of joy and happiness that attract money, then you will still take action. You'll still create things. You'll still have maybe connecting conversations with people that are going to, help assist you in actualizing greater wealth. You might be in a different realm with it, but there's still action involved. It's just not from that space of the doing. It's more from a space of being.
Oh, wow. That right there feels like a very magical potion to me. Because, I feel like I spent time being very serious and working hard for money, and then just sort of sitting back, sipping a cocktail with an umbrella in it, but that wasn't doing any actualizing, and just saying, this like chanting money come to me because I'm really happy and relaxed right now. And what you just like two ends of the spectrum, but what you just described feels like the magical potion, that sort of combining or that communion of all of that together. That really was enlightening for me. So thank you for that view. I really am going to look at that again too.
Cool. Thank you so much, Julie. And and sorry, one more little piece is coming up is that, so when you're in that being money and being wealth and being the request for more, it might look like maybe you're socializing all day. Maybe that day you're socializing, and then in a week or so, you're putting on a class. And all those people you socialize with want to come to your class because they had such a great time with you. Imagine marketing where you were just socializing with people and they couldn't wait to pay you for it. But they couldn't wait to take you out for dinner. Yeah. And you get to just be you and be in the joy of the wealth and the receiving and the willingness to have.
Thank you so much, both of you, for letting me ask questions and play with you today. I so appreciate it.
Oh, our pleasure, Julie. Thank you for calling in. Our listeners are always welcome to call in with their questions, and your questions were magnificent and really brought a lot to this conversation. So thank you for your contribution as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wow, what a conversation today. Cassy, thank you so much. So we have, just a few minutes. This time, of course, has gone by really fast. And I'm wondering, is there anything that you would like to add to the conversation that you haven't had the opportunity to talk about yet?
Yeah, so I'm kind of tapping into some people that maybe they're starting from like ground zero or even ground negative. Even talking about the 10% account, it's like, hey, I can't even pay my bills. I'm not going to be taking, 10% and just having money in my life. And so I wanted to acknowledge those people. And for them, it's not light to start the 10%, or it's not like whatever that is. Mm-hmm. I would love to give them maybe something that they could play with to start, just to get started. So
great.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So having an energy of money in your life is it can be having items, having paper bills in your pocket or whatever. But if you're also willing to go and spend time, so I talked about like bringing all of your intrinsic value items and putting them in the pile like a dragon and hoarding over them and just being in that energy. Yeah. So if you didn't have, say you didn't have a single item that was valuable, well, you could actually go to a store. So you could go to a jewelry store, you could go to a clothing store, you could go to a car dealership with like really high valued cars, and spend some time in that energy. And if you find your barriers come up, or you find that you're very uncomfortable, which can happen, just ask your barriers to lower, and then tap into all of what we talked about that receiving energy, about having, what that would be like, and just allow yourself to kind of, and your body to be in that energy. And what if you did that 3 times a week? And you start to really have that energy in your life. It'll start to be an energy in your life, and that will start to generate that pull of money. And then who knows what will happen as if by magic.
Wow. Cassy, thank you so much for being on today and playing with us about magic and money and so much more. And thank you all for listening.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful week, everybody. Go play with money, magic, and see what else you can create in this world. Thanks so much. Bye, Cassy. Bye, everybody. Bye.